Merry was the real hero of the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. I know, everybody is talking about Éowyn's epic strike, and indeed it was legendary. But without Merry, the Witch King never would have fallen, and if that hadn't happened, the battle could have turned out very differently. But here's the thing, this moment didn't just change the outcome of the battle, it may have changed the entire War of the Ring. Let's break it down and just see how crucial his role truly was. But before we go to discuss this exact moment, I want to take you back into the Return of the King. We know that Merry went together with Dernhelm, who is Éowyn in disguise, to go to the Battle of the Pelennor Fields, to fight and aid Gondor against Sauron's great army. After Theoden has given his amazing speech, which is honestly one of my favorite moments of the entire book of the Return of the King, they go into war, the Rohirrim fight, and Theoden is attacked by the Nazgul, and this Nazgul was none other than the Witch King, and Dernhelm was trying to save his king. Let's see what was written down in the texts. "Begone, foul Dwimmer Lake, Lord of Carrion, leave the dead in peace." A cold voice answered, "Come not between the Nazgul and his prey, or he will not slay thee in thy turn. He will bear thee away to the houses of lamentation, beyond all darkness, where thy flesh shall be devoured, and thy shriveled mind be left naked to the lidless eye." The sword rang as it was drawn. "Do what you will, but I will hinder it if I may." "Hinder me? Thou fool! No living man may hinder me." Then Merry heard of all sounds in the hour the strangest. It seemed that Dernhelm laughed, and the clear voice was like the ring of steel. "But no living man am I. You look upon a woman. Éowyn I am, Éowyn's daughter. You stand between me and my lord and kin. Begone, if you be not deathless, for living or dark and dead, I will smite you if you touch him." This was just an epic moment, and might I say, a little bit hurting for my throat. I still feel it, the voice of the Witch King, but I hope you did enjoy that. We have now this battle playing on with Éowyn and the Witch King. And now let's go to the end. Here is Merry's part coming into play. But suddenly he too stumbled forward with a cry of bitter pain, and his stroke went wide, driving into the ground. Merry's sword had stabbed him from behind, shearing through the black mantle, and passing up beneath the hauberk had pierced the sinew behind his mighty knee. "Éowyn! Éowyn!" cried Merry. Then tottering up, struggling up with her last strength, she drove her sword between the crown and mantle, as the great shoulders bowed before her. At this moment, the Witch King had died. Éowyn had stabbed him right between his crown and his robe. But before we continue in our breakdown, let me just know in the comment section, did you enjoy the Peter Jackson adaptation of this particular scene, of this fight between Éowyn and Merry and the Witch King? I'd love to hear your thoughts. The thing that drives us the most at this moment, may it be from the movies or from the books, is the line that "No man can kill me." Éowyn answers, "But no man am I. You look upon a woman." And indeed she is a woman, but to know more about this moment, why no man can kill him, we have to go back in time to the end of the Angmar Wars, where the Witch King of Angmar was fighting against the Dunedain of the north. At the end of the war, the men of Gondor, under leadership of J.R.R. and the Elves of Rivendell, came to aid the Dunedain of the north to fight against the armies of the Witch King. And they had won, they had succeeded, and the Witch King fled. And there Glorfindel said to J.R.R., "Do not pursue him, he will not return to this land." God of yet is his doom, and not by the hand of man will he fall. This was a prophecy told by Glorfindel, which has indeed come true. By the way, hit the like button if you think that Glorfindel is just this amazing character. And here it is clearly stated, not by the hand of man will he fall. And this is also what the Witch King gave him a kind of strength, because when he is fighting against men, he is kind of invincible. Eowyn was a woman, and was it really because she was a woman? Well, honestly, no, it wasn't. I do believe you can clearly say your own opinion about this. Tolkien has clearly stated in many different moments during The Lord of the Rings, The Silmarillion, The Hobbit, when he is talking about men, it's mostly about the race of men. I'm not saying that men is never used to consider a gender, like the male gender, but most of the times it is just said about the race, like we have elves or dwarves or orcs or hobbits. So this means that because Eowyn is a woman, she is of the race of men, that she isn't able to kill the Witch King, and yet she did. But this brings us back to Merry, and this is where he steps in. He stabs him with a dagger, and this is not just any ordinary dagger, because this dagger he had received from Tom Bombadil after they had been laid to sleep in one of those barrows in the Barrow Downs. When Tom Bombadil had rescued them, he gave each hobbit one of those shiny daggers that lay there in those burial tombs. And these are the Barrow Blades, the daggers of Westerness. And these daggers were forged by the Dunedain of Cardolan. Cardolan was one of the three kingdoms after Arnor was split into three. And these daggers were created by the Dunedain back then, specifically created to fight against the forces of the Witch King of Angmar. The same Witch King that we see on the Battle of the Pelennor Fields. And it was this dagger, as I'm going to read here from the Return of the King. So passed the sword of the Barrow Downs, work of Westerness, but glad would he have been to know its fate, and who wrought it slowly long ago in the North Kingdom, when the Dunedain were young, and chief among their foes was the dread realm of Angmar and its sorcerer king. No other blade, not though mightier hands had wielded it, would have dealt that foe a wound so bitter, cleaving the undead flesh, breaking the spell that knit his unseen sinews to his will. This blade has cut the connection to his will, which means that it created an exact opening, an exact moment for Eowyn to pierce his blade right where his face is supposed to be and kill him. This is the reason that they had those daggers, why they were actually at the Barrow Downs. Just connect this moment to here. If they hadn't been there, if they hadn't met up with Tom Bombadil, if he didn't save them, they would have never had those daggers, and there wouldn't have been an opportunity even to kill the Witch King, because any other dagger wouldn't have done the trick. But this dagger did, and this is Merry's crucial role. But this moment didn't just kill the Witch King, it had an entire impact on the battle and even the rest of the War of the Ring. If you think about this, the Witch King was the commander of the forces of Sauron. He united the orcs, the people of Harad, the Variags of Khand, he united them all and commanded them to attack Gondor and eventually also the Rohirrim. But when a commander dies, there is some chaos created. First of all, the creatures, the orcs and the men who are fighting for Sauron are suddenly afraid, because the one person that cannot be killed is dead. How would you feel if your commander, who is invincible, impossible to kill, has just been killed? It spreads fear, it spreads terror. But on the other hand, for the people of Gondor and Rohan, this moment creates hope, great strength and willpower to march through, to turn the tide. This is actually the moment that the battle completely turns around. Battle of the Pelennor Fields is over. Sauron's forces are defeated. But not only that, Sauron is afraid as well. His most trusted servant, his greatest weapon, has just been killed. And not only this, but it even goes further after the War of the Ring. because this moment makes Merry feel brave and stout and hearted and makes him a great, strong warrior. This courage and this bravery that he gained after he had battled and killed the Witch King together with Éowyn, he used again during the scouring of the Shire when he rallied up the hobbits together with Pippin to fight the ruffians under the leadership of Saruman, who had taken control of the Shire. Merry and Éowyn, who killed the Witch King, was such an iconic moment during the War of the Ring. Pippin, on the other hand, did it by accident. If you want to know more about his role in the Fellowship and his most iconic moment, and it's not the uprising of the Ents together with Merry, you will find it here in the next video, and I'll see you there. Bye bye.